gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Fred Wellman, host of this show, Too Late to Cancel. You're here Sunday morning. We see the YouTube chat was lit up before we even went live. My goodness, so good to see you guys. Vern, everybody, Nick, great to see you guys, all the fans here. So good to have friends and neighbors here. I'm returning from a trip to the Olympic National Park this week. I had a great time. I was hiking with my son, went to Cape Flattery. We went to the Hoh Rainforest. I mean, all the things you're supposed to see in the west side of Olympic National Park. You know what? Our national parks are truly a treasure. You know, it's like, I say that a lot, but my God, it's a beautiful, we are very blessed in this country to have such a beautiful place. So great to see you guys. I was laughing when I came back. My tan went away because I went to Olympic National Park. You know what I'm saying, right? It rained the whole time. So anyway, so I'll have to go hit the sun here in Missouri. I don't know. It is what it is. Nonetheless, hey, before we get started, as always, I'd urge you to click that YouTube subscribe button. Make sure you fill those numbers up. If you're on Substack, it's so good to see you guys. I love you guys. It's great to have you here. It is another beautiful day here, another beautiful Sunday in America, another crazy week in America, but you know how that goes. You know, while I was away there, you know, we had the last week, we had the show, and Trump's had another rough week. I mean, he always has another week, and he's really had a hard time trying to divert attention away from the Epstein Files, right? Because, you know, that's the whole point right now, is to avoid the Epstein Files. But, you know, the most bizarre thing happened this week where he had all new economic numbers. So now, how did we get here? You know, it all came out when the new jobs report came out last Friday, a week ago, when, of course, there was a little bit weaker new numbers, but more importantly, the BLS revised the previous 2 months significantly downward, which caused great angst and upsetness from our boy Trump. And so within hours, he did what he always does, as like any authoritarian does, as any dictator would do. Well, you fire the messenger, right? This is him talking about the BLS commissioner who's been there since Obama.
Why did you fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics?
Because I think her numbers were wrong. Just like I thought her numbers were wrong before the election. Days before the election, she came out with these beautiful numbers for Kamala. I guess Biden/Kamala. And she came out with these beautiful numbers trying to get somebody else elected. Then right after the election, I think on the 15th, November 15th, she had an $800,000 or $900,000 massive reduction. Said she made a mistake. That woman's numbers are.
Okay, $8,000 or $9,000. I mean, again, we talk about Biden being feeble, but what the heck's he talking about? Okay, no. So first of all, that reduction or the change was actually in August of 2024, well before the election. But, you know, let's not worry about timelines or fucking reality, okay? You know, it's never enough, this guy. And the issue is, that's all a lie, okay? It was the summer update that comes out there, and I'll explain that a little bit later, because it is confusing. The BLS numbers are very confusing. But, you know, it is not easy to, you can't just fake them. Okay, I'll show you why. This is actually, you know what, better than me. This is Dan Coe. He's great follow. Dan's very smart. He's part of the People's Cabinet. Can you show that clip of Dan on explaining all of this? I think on CNN.
I think it's worth re-emphasizing that there are hundreds of thousands of inputs into the data every month. Let's take a step back at the implication that this was faked, okay? It would have to be a conspiracy of national proportions for something like that to happen. The hundreds of thousands of inputs, the 2,000 people at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the timeline also for the commissioner itself. On a Wednesday before the Friday it's released, that's the first time the commissioner sees the data. The next day, the president and his senior team are briefed on it, and then Friday morning at 8:30 a.m., the numbers are released. So there really isn't any time to be cooking the books to begin with.
There's no time. There's no possibility. Keep in mind, these are numbers that are reported very quickly from around the entire country by employers to the states sending up to BLS. They turn that shit in like a day. I mean, it is not a slow, it is fast. So it's very, very, anybody who's at Economics 101 or maybe 201, I don't know, you call it 202, you know, they're not perfectly accurate numbers. They are constantly updated. And there is a process. And the process is this: they'll get the immediate numbers, and then each quarter they'll look back at those numbers because they've been looking at them all month. They'll report any revisions, up, down, either way, sideways, who fucking knows? But they do revise them on a regular basis. As far as August, that's the midsummer update, which is what happened. And then what happens each year finally is coming around to January is they do the year at that's when the real numbers come out for the full fiscal year. Again, government fiscal year ends in September. A quarter goes by. January, they report the entire fiscal year's number. Because why? Corporations have to report their taxes. Okay, tax data comes in October, so they have all the real numbers based on tax reports. That's why the real numbers for a year don't come out till the next year. That's not good enough for Trump. He wants to feel warm and fuzzy all the freaking time. He's got to feel, like he's special. And that's that picture in the corner. Okay, so what does he do? So for those who don't understand the context of what happened this week, they were having an event at the White House, I think on Thursday, for Purple Heart recipients. Guys who got the Purple Heart and women who got the Purple Heart having a special event at the White House. Of course, it featured the MAGA Purple Heart veterans who'd given him their medals. But that's a completely different topic. I actually talked about that on my regular show on Friday. But this Friday, all these reporters showed up expecting a happy-go-lucky event about the Purple Heart. And then this happened. Trump hustled them into the White House, the Oval Office, because there's brand new economic numbers. This is exciting. Actual new economic numbers from who? None other than Stephen Moore. Stephen Moore, guess where he works? The Heritage Foundation, of course. Well, don't worry. He's got exciting new numbers to report. And this is a rather long clip. But as you watch this, I want you to see the exciting conclusion, the big finale. Go ahead, JJ.
If it had not been for COVID, these numbers would have been substantially better. But even taking account President Trump's last year in 2020, we saw a $6,400 real after-inflation gain in income for the average family. And that compares with Joe Biden, which was a measly $551. So, Mr. President, you gain 10 times more income for the average family than Joe Biden is because of your policies.
And that's taken into consideration COVID,
Yep.
which a lot of times you don't have to do that. But I'm very glad you did.
We're over almost 8,000 until.
Look at that number.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we looked at
the whole thing.
Which families did the best. And we have data from the Census Bureau that shows by income percentage. So the 25th percentile is the lowest income.
Didn't have in her calendar. She wasn't going to show up.
Percentile is the highest income. And what I find fascinating about this, Mr. President, is every income group did better. The red is President Trump. The blue is President Biden. Every single income group did better under President Trump. But what's really amazing is look what happened under Biden. The lowest income group lost income under Biden. They were poor 4 years after Biden's presidency. No gain virtually whatsoever for the middle class.
It just goes on and on.
The rich was the only group that did better under Biden, which is ironic because Biden keeps saying he was trying to get rid of income inequality. He made income inequality worse, not better. It was President Trump that reduced income inequality.
These numbers just came out, by the way.
Yep. And then finally, these are the numbers just in
now, as you guys watch this,
terms.
it's a Purple Heart ceremony.
Mr. President, these are the numbers in dollar terms. So even the lowest income, 25th percent, gained about $4,000 in income. That's a lot for a lower income family. $6,400 for the middle class and almost $10,000 for the richest. So you can see every income group did better under Trump than Biden by a wide margin. And that's the story.
I think when you look at them, they're all something, but this one chart really says it better than anything. If you look at this is great, but this chart is pretty amazing right here.
I mean, like this chart is amazing.
All new numbers. Okay.
I mean, this is my favorite chart. Here it is. This is my chart. I love this chart right here. And you notice in that last part, the silence, like nobody even taking pictures. You hear click, 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 click. Oh, flashing lights. No, all the reporters there themselves going, the fuck are we doing? It's like the whole thing was just so ridiculous and fake. No one even reported the numbers afterwards because everybody knows it's fake. He just made that Stephen Moore just made shit up, comparing him to Biden. Look, I'm better than Biden. It was all about giving Trump a warm fuzzy. So they basically killed the process that we use to report the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And now it's going to be fake. We are in a place where we can't trust any of the economic numbers going to come out of this administration anymore. There is just no way to trust any of this that's going to happen, because you can't say bad things. Daddy hasn't played it. Now, what's really interesting too is that I just forgot about it. So there's this fella, Billy Long. JJ, forgive me, I forgot to add videos and stuff. But Billy Long, of course, got hired as the IRS commissioner. Now everybody in Missouri knows Billy Long. He's a well-fed young man who was an auctioneer and then ran for Congress and won in rural Missouri. And for reasons none of us can explain, he was hired to be the IRS commissioner. But he got fired in 2 months this week, right? Which is pretty amazing. But the interesting thing we're finding out now is this leak that he actually got fired because he refused to give DHS the tax records of undocumented immigrants who have been paying their taxes. And he was fired allegedly 2 hours after that. So 2 hours after following the rules and regulations, he was fired. So this all just it's comically stupid, but it's also stupid in the end. While it's funny to laugh, this clown show in our White House, which was supposed to be for a Purple Heart ceremony, but Moore shows up to make Trump feel good with these comically stupid charts that Trump is like, this chart, this is my favorite chart. It's just mind-boggling stupid if it wasn't so freaking dangerous. Because in the end, our economy hinges on tracking of data, making changes, all those things. And what we've got is a president who just wants a fucking toddler who just wants to feel good and feel better about everything he's doing. And here we are. And that's what we've got. So toddler show number 3 this week, or 800 is what this. But so let's talk about these serious things that are happening, right? And then that's the show, right? So we had a real opportunity to come. And this is, if you've watched the OG On Democracy show way back in January, I had Skye Perryman on the show just at the inauguration to join me to talk about what her amazing organization, Democracy Forward, is doing. Democracy Forward is a nonpartisan national legal organization. They promote democracy, progress through litigation, regulatory engagement, policy education, and research. They were ready for Project 2025, and that's what we talked about, and they started litigating right away. Well, they got a big litigation this week. I'm not going to ruin the news, so let's go ahead and bring on Skye, joining us on a Sunday morning, which we always appreciate.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, Skye, good to see you again.
I've got my
Oh, good. See, you're ready. You're ready for Too Late to Cancel. You got to bring your coffee.
Ready to go.
I think, but producer Barb's drinking margaritas already. So we are.
Good.
This is how we're doing it these days. Yeah. I'm glad you can make it. It's good to have you. It's good to see you again. It's been
Great
it's like 7 months of. I mean, I was looking at our whole conversation. Like, Jesus.
We told you we were going to do it.
Yeah.
We told you they were going to do it. We told you we were going to do it.
You called it. You called it, sister.
There we are.
I mean, exciting time to be a litigator in America for democracy. And as always, I think last time I told you how much I appreciate. Now, here's the big one, though. You had a big lawsuit filed this week in U.S. District Court of Columbia, I believe. And it's about the Epstein Files, right? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so we filed a suit this week. This is an administration, they're saying they're the most transparent in history. They ran on a conspiracy theory. They have not, now they're sort of trying to back away from it. They've not disclosed anything to the American people around Epstein, but we're actually more concerned about the cover-up.
Right.
So what we've done is we've requested communications between the White House press office, the Department of Justice, the FBI. You might say, well, that's a little odd. The White House press office doesn't talk to the Department of Justice or FBI. Well, they do in this administration. We know that,
right,
because it's an administration that is politicized, almost bragged about this. We requested those communications back in July. And the Department of Justice the agencies have not been responding in the way that the law requires. So we filed suit to both raise some awareness around this issue, but also to start really pushing and forcing transparency, because this is an administration that's shown it won't do anything that the American people need unless it's forced to do it. So we do a lot of that in court. And that's what we did on Friday.
And so what are you guys asking for exactly?
Yeah, so we've asked for communications between the various agencies and the White House press office about the administration's handling of this matter. So, we know there's a lot of folks, and we too, are interested in the overall underlying files. But that was something that was the president's thing, right? That was the president's conspiracy that he wanted all the stuff around the Epstein Files. We are actually interested in what's going on over there, right? How do you take this big issue that the president created in the minds of so many Americans, and now they are doing everything they can. They're also distracting, by the way. There was an article, some analysis that came out. We've seen some real concerning firings at the FBI. And there's now reporting that followed from a big meeting strategy session that the White House called to figure out how to manage the Epstein files. So they know that they're very vulnerable on this. They're starting to do a lot of things to distract. And we know that there are documents that are going to reflect some of what's going on here, and that the American people deserve to know that. So that's what we're after.
And you've known for a long time, if firing people doesn't shut them up, it actually kind of opens them up to talk more. It is a constant battle, these guys, of this doom loop of firing and getting rid of, and it's not going to work. Because I mean, you're right. It is the cover up in the end, isn't it? That's what we're talking about at this point.
It's the cover up. I mean, that's, this is so beyond Watergate. I mean, it's so funny. It's like in American history, everybody goes back to Watergate. I mean, it makes Watergate look like, child's play, really, which is deeply concerning. But there, you can learn. I mean, the lesson of Watergate was the cover up, right? So we are about the cover up.
Everybody knows
this. What is going on? What is going on? What are they doing? The other thing, we're past month 6. We're into the seventh month. And, we've really been focused in a lot of our cases, a lot of our stuff. What has this administration done since January to make anyone's life better, including people in their own base, right? And a lot of the stuff that they're out doing to scare people, to intimidate, to distract, none of that's making anybody's life better. And there's a whole bunch of big problems. So we think that this litigation will be very helpful in forcing some transparency. It was filed in federal court on Friday, and you'll see some more filings in the coming days. And we intend to push this litigation very aggressively.
Are you doing this alone? I mean, when we talked in January, one of the things that impressed me about what Democracy for you guys, for those who didn't see it, I guess I'll do this. You guys were preparing for a while. I remember you spent 2 years really getting ready for this moment, getting ready if he won, studying Project 2025 and the legal aspects that would go into that. You'd built a pretty good coalition of other groups. I mean, you're not just fighting this alone. Are you fighting this lawsuit alone, or do you have partners?
This is a democracy forward. This is it's a great lawsuit. It's really important. It's actually not the most complex issue. I mean, this is like the law is very clear. What the government's doing is very clear. So this one, we have some great lawyers on our team who have prepared it and filed it and are ready to push it aggressively. But I will tell you, the coalition, this is what's really been amazing. We are 200 days in. I think Friday was the 200th day. And we have seen over 400 litigations, legal challenges filed against this administration, not because people want to be filing litigation against the White House. In fact, there's a lot of lawyers that are capitulating and pulling out of doing those types of things, but because of how harmful everything this administration is doing and how unlawful it is. And the courts, whether they're judges appointed by Republicans, judges appointed by Democrats, judges appointed by Trump himself, they are consistently ruling against this administration. But at that day, and that is not just Democracy Forward, that's that whole coalition. It's all the folks that are willing to stand up in this time, the state AGs, a lot of other organizations. And we're really proud of how everyone's worked together. We have really tried to make it to where we know the courts can't save us. We know the courts can't save everything, but we've tried to make it to where when this administration does something unlawfully, they at least know they're going to have to show up in court. And bringing these actions attracts attention of the media, attracts attention of people. They're going to also have to answer the American people. So that's been going, quite well. But we've also started seeing this administration actually back off a lot of the things. So now we're at the point where they're not unable in many instances to even show up to court to defend what they're doing because it's so outlandish. The 2/3 of the lawyers at the Department of Justice and the department that usually would defend the administration's policies are gone, either because of indiscriminate terminations or because this is the Department of Justice that wants lawyers to do things that, frankly, they just can't do consistent with their professional obligations. So we really think this momentum is actually building. People are like, wow, look at all that you've done. We're just getting started. And that's one of the signals of this lawsuit on day 200 is to say, you're going to continue to see this type of pushback in the courts and the people and from the people.
And you made a point about the big law firms kind of collapsing. When we talked in January, I'm not sure either of us expected that kind of an attack directly. And obviously I'm close to Mark Zaid. Mark was my attorney in my fight with, which by the way, I don't know if you heard, I won that since we last talked. I won. I beat Mike Flynn. I beat Mike Flynn. Mark's great, but and Mark's been defending a lot of these guys who are getting fired. But the law firms, did you see that amongst your fellow legal community members that so many would be afraid to fight? And I mean, these are big firms.
Yeah, first of all, let me lift up, and I'm an alum of two of them. There are some firms that are really that have fought back, and let me just say, those firms, every single one of them that the president targeted, that did the right thing by going into court and saying, "We are lawyers. You cannot do this. This is so unconstitutional." All of them have been winning their cases, but the capitulation on the part of big law in many instances, it's terrible. It's a threat to the well-being of all Americans, but it really shows you that in this time, it is not going to be our elite institutions that are going to get us out of this. It is going to be the people. And what we've seen at Democracy Forward is organizations like ours and others more energized than ever. We have seen smaller law firms, you mentioned Mark, but folks that are either in solo practice or in kind of mid-sized and small practices coming out of the woodwork to say, like, how can we help in this time? And then, of course, we encourage the larger firms to stand up and do their thing. The American Bar Association, I mean, this is just phenomenal. I mean, they've been so clear. The president tried to retaliate against them. We represented them in a lawsuit that they've won. The administration's totally backed off. They're not even taking it to appeal. And so I think that's the story. One of the stories we want out is if we just keep pushing and doing the right thing and have everybody on the field and folks joining, I think they're at this breaking point right now. Lots of people are getting hurt, but they're desperate. I mean, look at what they're doing in Texas. They're desperate.
Right. They're desperately terrified of losing the House because they know the policies don't matter. They're willing to do it, or they have to win. They're doing it in Missouri here. I live in Missouri. They're talking about redistricting Kansas City to get rid of Emmanuel Cleaver's seat completely. The most ridiculous ways, splitting Kansas City into 5 parts. I mean, it has gotten nakedly that the desperation, you can smell it in the water. What are some of your key victories? If you've seen, I think when we last talked, you just filed suit, I think with the Quakers of all things, about raids on churches with ICE. I mean, have you seen some victories against that? Probably ICE.
Absolutely. That case has been successful. We secured a court order that is still in place protecting the Quaker meeting houses, a Baptist denomination that represents 750,000 Baptists, and a big Sikh temple in San Francisco. They're under court. The government is under court order, and ICE cannot engage in these indiscriminate operations there. We have filed last week. I'm glad you asked about that. Last week, we filed another big case on behalf of more houses of worship.
Wonderful.
Try to secure the same order. If you are a person that's listening in and you've got community members or know of folks that rely on services like Meals on Wheels or Head Start or community small business credits or all types of these community programs, Democracy Forward is the organization. Our lawyers basically have litigated and stopped the quote funding freezes that the administration tried to put in place, the national funding freeze, the funding freeze on the Infrastructure Act, which is a lot of community investment, job creation. We've sued there. Another victory. We had a victory. We stopped the decimation of the Department of Education. The Supreme Court has stayed that on its shadow docket, although it has not said that what Trump was doing is lawful. But importantly, we brought a follow-on because he also tried to withhold $7 billion of public school funding that would have really crushed budget schools starting up this week in some places. And we have been able to get the Trump administration to back off in the face of that litigation. They've sent the funds out. Other victories, we've had some more in the immigration context. We've had some in the federal worker context, although that is a slog. We're continuing to litigate those things every day. The ABA winning a thing for them where the court just said this is violation of the First Amendment. It's retaliation. And then you've, I think, talked about this some, but the administration's also trying to require these certifications. They want like everybody that engages with the government to have to certify that they don't engage in diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. These are blatant violations of the First Amendment. I mean, I don't even, you can set the civil rights laws aside, even though they're blatant violations of those under any reasonable interpretation of the law. These are blatant violations of the First Amendment. And we've been able to secure a number of wins there, although that's going to continue to be a fight. We've kept Doge. We exposed a lot around Doge. We kept Doge out of Social Security data for a period of weeks. That's another one that the Supreme Court has stayed on its shadow docket, but that we're vigorously litigating. So I think there's a lot of victories here. And even in the setbacks, what we see, and when there's a setback in court, there's usually a win in the public square, because usually by the time we face some type of setback in court, either from the Supreme Court or elsewhere, people are already activated. They're out in the streets. We had that litigation that said in the United States, there is no kings. And you've seen that be a rallying cry now for people. So we're, that's where we're getting our energy right now.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of wins. I mean, it's hard to see it, right? I mean, it's hard to feel it.
And people are suffering, and our wins in court, we know, I mean, these are not, that people are getting hurt, and they are being led by an administration that really does not seem interested in solving people's problems, and seems to, at some point, cruelty being the point. So we can't change that right now, right? But what we can do is that we can make there be a high cost to the administration when they try to hurt people and violate the law. We can take them to court, we can expose, we can force transparency. And you're going to see that with this Epstein case too.
Yep. And that's the most important part, I think. So in the end, what have you heard, coming back to while you joined us, the Epstein case? I mean, obviously these are very big issues. I mean, it's a hallmark of the thing. It's splitting the MAGA base in a lot of ways. Do you think you guys can force some sort of a movement forward? I know Congress has subpoenaed. I mean, I think actually Republicans have subpoenaed some of those records. I mean, so they dismissed Congress. They're hoping this will run out. But with folks like you on like a dog on a bone on this, aren't you? You're not letting that go, are you?
No. And I think, look, I mean, just to go back to it, we've requested these records. The government has the right to respond and say, guess what? There are no records. We don't have any. They didn't do that, right? So like by virtue of this, we know there's something there that they're trying to hide, and we're going to continue through these channels to push that. Congress is on it too, and people are on it. The thing to watch out for is that the administration is starting to act desperate, and in that we're going to see a lot more retaliation, a lot more intimidation, which I think is what you see with these unlawful FBI firings and other things that we're waking up to the news on today. And we're ready for that too. But, it's going to take all Americans saying, this is not what we do here. And I was just reading a piece this morning about a community that voted overwhelmingly for the president. And they are all now uniting around the fact that under the immigration policy, they're trying to pull out the rug from some of their community members who were here and following the rules. And we're challenging a lot of that in court right now too. So it's going to take people, getting out there and saying, this is not how we do things in America. But I believe there's a moment in this moment where we can be much more unified in that, because some of this is just so offensive across. And I think the Epstein Files sort of shows that. It starts showing cracks in their base. It started showing people saying, wait a second, we didn't vote for this. What's going on now?
Yeah. I've seen some Democratic leaders have tried to, one of I don't know, I'm sure, I think you and I are dead on this together, is like, oh, that's a distraction. No. One of the things I hound our members of Congress and our leaders within the party is that there's plenty of people around to take care of everything, right? There's groups like Democracy Forward who, you may call it a distraction. Yeah, sure, maybe for you, Speaker of the House or whatever, leader, it may be a distraction from your job, but there's 217 members or 10 or 15 Democrats. There's 47 Democrats in the Senate, and then there's us out here. These are important issues. The Epstein Files, in the sense of a cover up of our government. What else? I think for me, if they can cover this up, something so big, something so related directly to the president.
It was their thing. I just want to be like this was not our conspiracy theory.
No, this is theirs.
His thing. Like, that's why this is so important, just to be clear. This wasn't something So then what are you doing?
Right.
what's
What
going
else
on.
can he cover up? Right. What else is they keeping from us that it could be even more monstrous and horrible? And at some point, when do we draw? I think that's what I liked about your organization since I've met you is you say, no, the line stops right here. And it's the simple one. It's the law. The law is the law. And either you comply with it or you don't. And I think that's what you guys are trying to do is just say, no, this is law. We're going to comply, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, we want people in this moment to be able to use every single tool they have. And we've seen more action out of Congress over the Epstein Files than we've seen on many things that we really
Yeah.
need them to get motivated on. I just want to say, but Congress has not really been there right now consistently for the American people. The administration's working against the American people. Congress sometimes, is doing that too with the big bill. And so one of the main tools that people have right now is the ability to initiate litigation against their government. And so we are going to make sure people can use that tool, that they're not priced out of that tool. We represent all of our clients free of charge, right? And they're not priced out of that tool. And we're going to show up day after day after day, knowing that that is just one piece of what needs to be done in this moment, but it is a really essential piece.
And that's where I was leading to. I was able to fight. I mean, I'm very open about it. I had nothing when Mike Flynn sued me. I had nothing, but luckily Mark Zaid and Brad Moss came to me for pro bono, and we were able to raise money from the public to help us beat him back, and we won because we were right.
And you won.
Yeah, and you win. It's hard. It's scary. It's terrifying to stand up to them. But we have to see more organizations. I'm proud of. We were joking recently. I was up in Boston. I visited my old alma mater, the Kennedy School at Harvard, and we're like, "Isn't it weird being on the good guy side?"
I know. I have friends who are like, "I didn't go to Harvard." I have friends who are like, "I'm buying Harvard sweatshirts."
And for regular viewers, that's my weekly mention of Harvard. But it is good to see organizations like that. And stand up, and organizations like yours stand up. And I think finally, the most important thing is we got to tell the folks watching and will be watching the recording of this is, that you too can stand up, right? That there are ways they can support organizations like yours, right?
There are. I mean, go to democracy4.org. We've got ways. I mean, we would love, we obviously are generously supported, and that is what allows us to do things pro bono. And you've seen the need for that.
Yeah.
But we also have a lot of other ways to get involved. We have a great new program that we started at day 100 of this administration that is just going gangbusters, called Dinners for Democracy and Coffee for Change. These are not fundraisers. We're not asking you to have people over or get people together to give money, but they're community building. It's saying like, this is a hard time and we need to be checking in with each other. We don't need to feel alone and we don't need to feel defeated. You can find out more about that at democracy4.org/dinners for democracy. The other thing that I've been suggesting that people do, and I think you are a great example of it, is just like be part of the institution. If you're an alum of a college or a university, or you're a shopper at one of these companies that's capitulating, get involved, right? Let people know, let them know how you can walk with your feet, right? This is going to take this type of collective action. We're going to have to push all of our institutions. And we also need to not let Congress off the hook. And people need to be writing and being loud. I know that can be frustrating. My hometown that I grew up in, the congressman's not even people can't even get the voicemails full or whatever. But you just keep pushing and calling and doing things to raise awareness, which is really, really important.
I love it. It's a great place to let you go on Sunday morning, go to brunch. I appreciate you so much. I mean, that is what we say a lot here is it's just all of us has the power to be involved. All of us has the power to step up, hold your Congress members account and make that difference right at home. You don't have to travel to DC. You can do it right in your own living room.
Great. And and I'll come back when we see what we're going to get from these documents.
I can't wait. We're going to have so much fun with that. Well, Skye, thanks for joining us live on a Sunday morning. You have thanks for the fight. Keep up the fight.
Always great to see you. All right. Bye-bye.
Likewise. Bye. Oh, I love talking to Skye. It's so funny. Especially you guys know the magic behind the windows here, behind the scenes is there are PR people that will call me. And my friend Andrew Feldman has a great one called Feldman Strategies, and he'll reach out and goes, "Hey, we got a great client." Skye's like, "No, say no more. She's on. Let's do it." It's like there's just timing and events that come in, and you have to talk to folks, and when you get somebody you've gotten to know over the last year, it's important. It's such a great organization. Definitely check out Democracy Forward. Check out ACU, other organizations. There's just so much going on that you guys need to know about. We did have some technical difficulties this week, as we normally do. So we're the panel we had to scratch the panel this week. So you just get me and Skye and me jamming a lot. But you guys know how that goes. It gives you more time to go to brunch on Sunday morning, or even better, go hiking your local national park because it's a beautiful day wherever you are. The thing I want to keep in mind, folks, is that as I always say here, we have the power. It's not anything. It is all about you having the power, that you can step up, that we can hold these people accountable. I know. Oh, I'll answer some of your comments too. I see your Ron stream. I'll answer some of these questions. We have the power, and it means stepping up. This business in Texas is not a done deal. Missouri is spreading rumors they might have shrunk. Great, go ahead and try it. How about if we flip the seats instead? You think you're comfortable? Let's make them uncomfortable. They think they can do whatever they want, and we have to prove to them they can't. As far as, no panel today. I apologize, guys. Sorry, Vern. I know you love them. The lawsuit on November 4th, I'm not sure which one you're talking about. As far as I saw, a robust conversation going around discussing veterans in this time, right? Veterans in this time, look, I'm seeing within my community a lot of folks who are reaching out and having to find a new way of doing, finding their eyes opened. I'm seeing a lot of conversation in the veterans community. And a lot of this has to do with the reality that we see. One of the biggest things you don't do is attack the VA. And we know that Doug Collins is sitting here saying they're improving the VA, but reality is reality. Many, many veterans who have already struggled to get access to their VA in a lot of places can't get in. We did a story this week on the main show on Democracy on Midas Touch. I'd love you to go see it. I'd love you to watch that. But the key is that the reality is that they're losing 10,000 employees in September. Doctors are not accepting jobs. This has been kept secret. Since they had a hiring freeze and all this drama, they can't get doctors and nurses to join the VA anymore. And this means that all these things are closing. And it's unfortunate, but it is just the way it is. So that means that places like the VA hospital in Maine, which is already a hard place to hire people, means that wait times for outpatient surgeries have shot up 60 days or longer to get a simple surgery, maybe a shoulder repair or a knee replacement. These are things about you go in and you go out. They can't get those done now. And then they say, well, we'll just refer you to community care. Have you been to Maine? Have you been to rural Maine? There is no community care. There's a shortage of healthcare in every way. If you've been to rural Missouri, people use VA because it's available and it's free for the most part. So the lies don't match the reality, the lived reality, and that's going across the country. So veterans, many of our fellow veterans are seeing that. Many of our veterans are seeing the fact that the lived reality they're living means they can't get in to see their mental health care provider. They can't see the doctor for what was supposed to be a minor surgery they desperately need. And so the reality is that there are different times. Our job, we keep on reminding them. We keep on highlighting those stories and keep pushing it. So I won't keep any longer. I know it's, I think it's preseason Sunday time. Anything else going on? I know JJ's got things to do in San Diego. I apologize for the change in scheduling. Both Kim and Darius, we had some challenges, and it's not them, it's us, but it's okay. We will be back as always. And I would urge you, if you're not watching it already, on Democracy with FP Wellman, our OG show, Friday nights at 7. It's a live show. If you're looking for the past episodes, this is something that came up in the comments elsewhere. We are now a live show on the Midas Touch Network. So instead of the video list, what you need to do is look in the live category on Midas Touch, and there you will find all of my videos for the On Democracy with FP Wellman. This week was a solo episode talking about Hegseth and Collins and what they're doing to DOD and the VA. So we appreciate you fans. I apologize for the changes. In the meantime, of course, the website Too Late to Cancel has all of our shows, all of our links and bios, and producer Katie, producer JJ, and all of us here are in there with clips. Look for clips. Intern Satchel, who's getting near the end of his summer. We may keep him around, but Intern Satchel's doing clips for you and getting those out there. If you see him, he's on the On Democracy channels manning those. That's the guy behind the scenes. We're very appreciative of the hard work that Intern Satchel's done all summer, and maybe we'll keep him coming. So we hope so. But in the meantime, I appreciate all of you. There's a lot of exciting things coming up. I can't tell you yet. I can't wait to tell you, but I can't tell you yet. But there's some really cool things that we have in the works, both in the Too Late to Cancel and On Democracy worlds, and outside them that I'm thrilled to be announcing very, very soon in the next month or two. So I hope you'll stay tuned. Watch us on our social media channels. As always, I'm at FP Wellman on the old place. I'm at FP Wellman Official on Instagram and Threads and elsewhere. Find us there. Follow us, like us. We'll be back at 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Friday live on the Midas Touch Network. Thanks, Mary Yates. It's 7 p.m. Eastern every Friday night live on the Midas Touch Network. With that, Don't forget our Substack. I will see you guys again soon. Thanks for joining us. Sorry about the short show. We'll see you soon.